I was born in Klamath Falls, Oregon, in a little shack, literally, right near the train tracks. My story actually kind of starts there. My biological father left when my mom was 6 months pregnant with me. You know, as you can imagine, Mom did the best she could, and she met a man, just like her knight in shining armor. He was going to take care of her, and he was in love with her, and he loved her kids, and he was going to raise us as his own. And so I think I was probably about 1.5 or 2 years old when they got married. And he would beat her. And my very first memory is my sister holding me, being told I need to be really, really quiet. And then we all got in the car, and my sister steering the car, and the boys and Mom pushing it out of the driveway. I remember going to my great aunt's for a family reunion every year. And when I was 5, my mom, before we all got out of the car, told us and my brothers to not be alone with my great uncle because he was not a nice man. My brothers were not to leave us girls alone ever. Well, they're little boys. They get distracted and they get involved in games and stuff, and I ended up in a room alone. My uncle told me that if I told people what had happened, that I would be the bad girl. And that happened again the next year. And then the year after, my great-grandmother died. I felt horrible for years because I was glad she was dead. But the family reunion stopped. So I didn't have to go there anymore. And so I just learned that you don't trust. You cannot give up control of your life. You can't let somebody else control you. I had to have that control. I had to control men. I had to control anybody who could physically hurt me. I just couldn't let them get close. That's how I lived my life for a lot of years. When I was in 6th grade, Mom met and married Paul. And Paul was my stepfather until I graduated high school. So longest time I ever had a father in my life. But he had a very difficult time emotionally connecting to somebody. But, he wasn't beating anybody up, so. I was good. I was actually a really good kid. I did everything I was asked to do. I minded my P's and Q's. I did what I was supposed to. And rules for me were very strict. And when I turned 18, it's like the rubber band had been held so tight that it broke. And there was just nothing there to catch me. And so I went off the deep end. I pretty much don't remember my 18th year. I started drinking really, really heavy, started doing drugs. I woke up in Reno one morning, and I didn't know how I got there, and I didn't know who I was with. And so I moved back home and lived there for a while, and I didn't drink. I had made the decision I was not going to drink at all. I needed to get my life together. I needed to get it right. Pick myself up by my bootstraps, and I was going to do fine. And I went to a party, poured myself a Diet Pepsi. I took my soda and I drank it, and then I walked out. And I don't remember anything else. I believe to this day that somebody spiked my drink. They thought it was probably funny, So anyway, I woke up the next morning to the news that I had beat my mother up. Still have a hard time believing I could do that. A lady that I had known when I would go see my grandma, I went up and spent the weekend with her. And we went to this group called Encounter, which was like a college age kind of group, which I was college age, so I fit into. And I understand at this point, I have hit a pretty low. I had just beat my mother up and been kicked out of the house. So I'm like, okay, well, church might not be a bad idea. When I had first come up there that first weekend, I went and there was a young man playing the piano. When I came back up, when I moved back up, there he was again. And he was very, very nice. And he showed up at our house every night. And we would just talk. I really liked him a lot. We ended up getting married and we moved to California. Got back into drinking and drugs, both of us. It wasn't good where we were at. And he got offered a job back in Oregon again, and he came up before I did. But in that 2 weeks, being sober and I liked myself. I liked who I was. And I didn't want to go back. I mean, all it took was 2 weeks. That seems crazy when I look back on it, but 2 weeks, and it was like, I don't want to go back to what we were doing. And, I had this great change in my heart and in my mind, and he didn't. he didn't know what had happened to me. So we moved back to Oregon, and it was a very difficult year. I remember distinctly the night that it just all changed for me. I was outside and crying and just saying, God, how did I get here? How did I get here? And looking back at my life and the choices I'd made and how I thought that I was controlling the men in my life, controlling my husband, controlling situations, I really was allowing those things to control me. And I realized that night that I had given control, but I had not given it to God. I'd given it to the enemy. And I walked up. There was a sidewalk in front of our house, and I walked up and I just sat down on the sidewalk and I just cried out to God. And I said, I cannot do this. I need you. I need you to take control. And at the time it was crazy because I was thinking to myself, my marriage is over. I'm a mess. I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose everything. That was has always been my biggest struggle with God is trusting Him. My husband and I have been married now for 31 years. I can trust God with the important things, with the things that truly, truly matter, because I know He'll never let me down. I can trust God with the insignificant things, the unimportant things, because I know He'll never, ever let me down. I may not always understand, and I may not always get what I want, but I will always get what is best. Always. I'm Lori Buckelew, and this is my story.